your PS4 jailbreak tutorial. So we now have a new jailbreak that works up to firmware 12.0 on the PlayStation. For a lot more PS4s are now jailbreakable. So unfortunately, this jailbreak cannot be loaded from the web browser yet. Maybe that will come at some time in the future. But at the moment, we don't have a web browser-based exploit that we can use to trigger this jailbreak. So instead, we have to use a more obscure exploit of a modified save file that can be used to trigger the exploit. And there's only a handful of games that are currently supported that can be used to load this modded save. So for instance, we have got this game here, Compatibility Creative. This is the game that I got. Basically, these are kind of Japanese-only games. You can get them from places like PlayAsia and CD Japan. And you can also, of course, get them from international sellers who are selling on sites like eBay are another place that you can get them. So the games that are currently supported, if we switch over to our computer and look at the actual project for the modded save here, these are the games that are currently supported. I'll leave a link to this in the description so you can see what new games are added by the time you're watching this video, because new games are constantly being added to this list of games that you can use to load the save file to trigger the jailbreak. So you need to get your hands on one of these titles in order to be able to do this. So again, I have a physical copy of Compatibility Creative I got a few months ago that I can use to load this, because this project has been available for some time. But using it to load the jailbreak is only just come out, and then we'll also need to get the modified save in order to be able to load the jailbreak with the game. So I will cover that, but before we get into that, let's go ahead and get our console to be able to run this new jailbreak. So the first thing you want to do is head into your notifications. Head to your downloads. Just make sure you don't have any new software updates that are trying to be downloaded or that are waiting to be installed. If you do have one, like you can see here, 12.50, we're gonna want to make sure we cancel and delete that. Get rid of it. Then we're gonna head over to our settings. We're gonna go to our network settings and make sure that connect to internet is turned off right now. Then if we go back and head down to our system settings, we're gonna want to go to automatic downloads and make sure that all of these options are disabled. Make sure they're all unchecked. Then we can go to our system information and check your system software version. So you can see I'm on 1.0.2. You can basically use this jailbreak on any firmware from 11.0 to 12.0, and that's because any firmware above 12.0 has patched this jailbreak. And any firmware below 11.0 has older jailbreaks that you can use, which are generally more mature. Now, if you're on 11.50 at the moment when this video is being released, those firmwares do not have support for Goldhen yet. I'll leave a link in the description to where you can see what firmwares are currently supported. With Goldhen, which is the main jailbreak payload, you can see here that 12.0 to 12.02 is supported. 1.0 to 11.50 are not supported yet over time. So you can either wait for your firmware version to get support. That way, you're more likely able to take advantage of new exploits that come out in the future. If you stay on a lower firmware, and you can still jailbreak on those firmwares using the open source versions of Hell, which will allow you to get up and running just with less features. Or you can update to 12.0 or 12.0 to right now to access Goldhen. So if you're already on 12.0 or your firmware now has support for Goldhen, just skip to the timestamp you see on screen here to go to the next section. But if you want to learn how to update 12.0 to stick with me here, and I'll show you guys how to update. So switching over to the computer, we need to download the system software version for 12.0. So there's this site here where you can download all the different firmwares. And we're gonna go ahead and just click to download the retail system firmware for 12.02. The other site that you can go to, which will also be left in the description, is this site here. You can go to official firmware's 12.02. Simply click the download and download the version for 12.02. At which point here, you're gonna want a USB plug the USB into your computer, right click on it. Go to properties. Make sure the file system is either exFAT or FAT32. If it's not, you'll have to right click and reformat it. And simply select the file system is FAT or FAT32 and click start to reformat the drive. Obviously back up any data on the drive before reformatting it. So when we go into the USB drive, we're gonna want to go to View Show. And then make sure you select File Name Extension. Make sure that option is ticked, and then in the root of the USB we're gonna create a new folder called PS4 in uppercase characters. Then inside that folder, we're gonna create another folder called Update, also in uppercase characters. And then inside that folder, we're gonna copy the update file we downloaded into that folder. And then what we're gonna do is rename the file. And make sure the file name is just called ps for update.p. up also in uppercase characters. So that is the file structure that you need. So in the root of the USB drive, you've got your PS4 then the update folder, then the update file inside. All named the same here in uppercase characters. And you should be all good to go. From there, we can go ahead and eject the USB drive and plug it into our PS4. And on the PS4, you would just head back to your settings. Scroll up to System Software Update. And then what it should do is, it should find the update on your USB drive. So you can see there, make sure it says 12.02 or whatever firmware and then click OK and let it start installing the update. It will probably have to restart the PS for a couple of times. Once the update is fully installed, it will boot you back onto the home page. It will tell you that the firmware update has been installed, at which point you can then head back to your settings. Head down to the system settings, system information, and make sure that the system software is now on 12.02. And you have successfully updated to the highest firmware. That is jailbreakable with this jailbreak. So anyway, that's how you get the system updated. So the next thing we need to do is get the save file on our console that the game can load, which will then trigger the jailbreak. Now there's a few different ways to do this. Now first of all, if we hold down the PS button to open the quick menu, go to power and log out of PS4. And then once we log out, we can press the PS button again. And then we have our profiles that we can select. So if you press the options button over one of your profiles, if you see a menu like this pop up, that says you can appear offline or online. And do that with every single one of your profiles to see if you have this menu. If you have a menu like this on any one of your profiles, it means that your account is activated, which gives you lots of different options for being able to get the save file on your console. If none of your profiles come up with this menu, when you press options over it, then that means you do not have an activated account on your console, leaving you with only one option right now on how to get the save file on there, and that is to restore a backup. And you can use the same method for whether you do have an activated account or not. It's just that if you have an activated account, you have other ways that you can get the save file on which you might find more useful. So anyway, if I log back into my account here, I'll first of all show you the backup method. So what we can do is we can restore a backup from somebody else's PS4 who already has the modified save files on there, and that will get the save files working on your console. The only problem with restoring somebody else's is that it essentially resets your console. So if you want to save any of your save files or installed games, you'll need to create your own backup first so that you do not lose that data. So what we can do is head over to our settings, scroll down to the system settings, and then head down to the backup and restore option. Plug in a USB drive into your console that has enough storage space to back up the system, and then we're going to back up our PS4. And we'll just say yes to back it up. Select any applications here that you want to back up, and then also your save data, any captures, themes, settings, anything like that. And click next, and then select the option to back up your PS4. And then that will go ahead and create the backup on your USB drive. Once the backup is complete, you can go ahead and unplug your USB and plug it into your computer. Okay, so I've got the backup here on my USB drive. So what you want to do is just take that PS4 folder on your USB, which is your backup file, and copy it somewhere safe on your computer, so you can always restore it in the future to get your save files and applications and stuff that back. You will lose when you restore the other backup with the save file. So just copy this somewhere on your computer for safekeeping. So I already have a backup saved. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete this backup from my USB. Now that I have it copied safely to the computer. And now what we want to do is take the backup from the download. In the description here, this PS4 folder. Open this up and simply extract the PS4 folder to the root of the USB drive. And this is the backup that contains the modified save files for the supported games that you can then restore onto your console. And then we're gonna go back into the system settings and go to backup and restore again. This time we're gonna use the option to restore the PS4, and we'll select the backup that's on the USB drive, and we will tell it to restore. And then you just have to wait for that backup to finish restoring. Once it restores, it will boot you back into the home screen. You won't have anything on there, so you'll have to install your Lua game. So put in your Japanese game that can be used to load the jailbreak. Put that into your PS4 so it's ready to load. And then once it's done and ready to load, you should be all good. The save file is ready and you have your console prepared. So these other methods here require an activated account, but they will not reset your console. So let's take a look at these other methods. So what you need to do for both of these methods is run the game. First of all, what we're gonna do is start. We just want to create a dummy save file on the game to begin with, that we're then going to replace with the jailbreak save file. So we just want to start the game and then head to the pause screen. On this game, I have to press square, and then I can go over to the save section here and create a new save game. Once that's done, we can go ahead and simply close out of the game. And we now have our save file. Plug in a USB drive into your console. Head into the settings. Go down to the application save data management section here. And then go to save data in system storage and copy to USB storage device. From here, we're going to select the game save itself. Highlight it here and select the option to copy it. And that will copy it over to our USB drive. And then we can plug that USB drive back into our computer. You can either use another jailbroken PS4 to create the save file. Or you can, of course, use the free Discord save bot that are available. Now, sometimes they can be at capacity, so you might have to pick and choose your time to actually use it. But that's what we're gonna use, because not many people gonna have a separate PS4 that's already jailbroken. So what we need to do first of all is download the jailbreak save data from the GitHub repo. For the auto Lua loader, we just go to the code and download it as a zip file. And then we can head over to Google Drive, because the saves are too large to actually upload directly. So we need to use Google Drive. We'll create a new folder on Google Drive called PS4 and click OK. Then click the 3 dots next to the folder and select the share option. And then under general access, you want to change it from restricted to anyone with this link. And then click done, then go into that folder. Open up your USB drive and go into the save data folder. So PS4 save data your account ID, the CUSA folder, and you've got your save files in there. You want to copy that CUS a folder that contains your save files. And drag and drop it into Google Drive and upload it to that PS4 folder. Once it's been uploaded, we can then go into that folder and copy the URL at the top. And then we can go onto Discord and access the ADOS. Discord server link will be in the description. And then from there, we're gonna head to the ADOS section and select one of the bots that are available. So I'm gonna use PS bot, which tends to be the most reliable. Sometimes there are other bots also available. We'll click get started, and that will create a new thread. We go into that new thread, and then we can issue a command. We're gonna do /C, which should give us the decrypt command at the top. And it should be the top decrypt command that you want to select, which is the one for your bot. At which point it will ask us if we want to sys will say true, and then just press enter. It will then ask us to upload the saves. So we'll now provide it with the link to our saves on Google Drive. And press enter, and then it should go ahead and upload that save file. It will decrypt it and then provide the decrypted download that we can then download back to our computer. And we can then extract that decrypted save data over to our desktop. At which point we can then open up the zip file, save, and go into the save data folder. And then also open up the decrypted save data folder, which contains our original decrypted and of course we want to highlight all of the files in the save data and drag and drop them into the decrypted save data and allow it to override any files in the destination. And then once that's done, we have our jailbreak save prepared. So now we just need to turn that back into an encrypted save file. So to do this, we're just going to basically upload these files back to Google Drive. So we want to take the CSIS folder that is in our decrypted save and drag and drop that into Google Drive into our PS4 folder and let that upload. Once that's finished uploading, we can delete that SCE system folder and then just copy the whole decrypted folder for our decrypted also save into the PS4 folder on Google Drive. And then once that's all uploaded, we can then go back to the Discord save and bot now use the /encrypt command and select the encrypt option. And then it will ask us if we want to upload the files we'll say individually. False include SCE system true. And then also, we're going to select the option for PlayStation account ID. And then we want to grab the account ID of our save, which we can get on the USB drive. Inside the PS4 folder, we've got the save data folder. And then the next folder is the account ID. So you can just rename that folder with your account ID. And copy the ID and then just paste it in. And then go ahead and press enter. And what it should say is that the PS and username is incorrect, because it's looking for a username, not an account ID, but it should then say you can then enter the account ID within the next 300 seconds. So just go ahead and paste in the account ID and press enter. At which point it should then ask us for the link to the original save files again. So we'll just go back into the CUSA folder on Google Drive and grab the link and then paste it back in and press enter. After that, it will then ask us for the decrypted save data. So again, we'll just grab the link to the decrypted save folder on Google Drive and paste it in and press enter. And then finally, it should ask us for the link to the SCE system folder, which again, we'll just grab from our C system folder in Google Drive. Copy the link and paste it in and then press enter. And that should be it. So at that point, it's just a waiting game. You're waiting for it to upload the files. Create the encrypted save, and then it will provide a Google Drive link to download it back to your computer. And it may take a while to actually generate that Google Drive. So you might have to wait a while for it to do that. But eventually, you should get a link to Google Drive to download your encrypted save. Once that's available, you just open it up and you'll find the save file inside. So all you have to do is replace the save data file that are on the USB drive with the ones that you downloaded. So just override the ones on the USB with the ones that you downloaded. And now you can plug that USB back into your PS4. And go to Application Save Data Management. Save data in USB storage, copy to system storage. And of course, you're just gonna copy the save file over to the system storage. And that should get the modified save ready to run the jailbreak on the PS4. So that's another way that you can get the save without having to reset your console. And of course, you can also use another jailbroken using the Apollo save tool to go through the same process. Okay, now we need to get the payload on the USB drive file will load to then jailbreak the console. So we need a USB drive that's formatted in SFAT format for this. Not FAT32 or NTFS here, needs to be SFAT format. So we'll go into that USB drive. We'll take the latest version of Golden, which will be linked in the description, and we'll grab the bin file and throw it into the root of the drive. Now, if Golden's not available for your firmware, you can use the regular version of Hen which instead. I will also leave in the description if you're on 11.50. 11.50 to any of those firmwares. And also, we want to go to View Show File Name Extensions. Make sure that is enabled. And then we're also going to rename this file to payload.bin. And then we should be good there. So the next step here is to download any homebrew applications that you want from pkg-zone.com. We can download the homebrew store here by clicking on homebrew store for PlayStation, and then also any other homebrew applications that you want. I would also recommend downloading the PS4 Cheats Manager here, as well for PS4. Now, if you are going to be connecting online, you can use the Homebrew store on the console to install any additional Homebrew applications. But if you're going to be keeping your console offline, then you're going to want to download any other Homebrew using pkg-zone.com and install them with the USB drive. So then we can take those Homebrew applications and copy them also to the root of the USB drive. Now, I've also got a couple of PS4 fake package games, which I will also copy over to the root of the USB drive, just to show that we can actually get PS4 games running with the jailbreak. So if I open this up, you can see we've got Minecraft as a fake package, and PT also as a fake package, which we can then run on our PS4 once jailbroken. And I've also gone ahead and copied over Bloodborne as well, which I'm gonna use as an example to show off some of the Golden features. So we're gonna go ahead and eject our USB drive and plug it into our PS4. So back on the PS4, we're finally ready to run the jailbreak, which we can do by just launching our Japanese game, which will then run the modified save file, which will run the auto loader, which will then load the payload from our USB drive. It will copy it to the hard drive first of all. So there it goes, it copies it while payload already up to date. So I already had one on the hard drive. But you will not. So it will copy it over to the data folder on the hard drive, and then load it, and we now have Gold 10 running. So that is how you get the jailbreak up and running. It only takes a few seconds once you have everything set up. And now that the payload's copied to the internal hard drive, you no longer need the USB drive plugged in. Whenever you go to load the jailbreak in the future, it will just load from the hard drive instead. So that is basically how we get set up there. So the next thing we're gonna do is install those package files by heading into the Golden settings here, going to the debug settings and package installer. And all the package files on the root of our USB drive, we can just say install all to install all of them. And let it install all of those packages, okay. So we're just finishing up installing the Homebrew applications. For Cheats Manager, the Homebrew store, there we go. Everything is now installed. And that is how you load applications onto your PS4 here. So we've got our Homebrew applications. If we try and run one of the games here, it should work because we're running the jailbreak. So we've got the Homebrew enable, which allows us to run our fake package games here. So we can go ahead and close out of the game. So now that Gold 10 is running, it's safe to now connect to the internet on our console. If I head into the network settings, set up an internet connection. You can use Wi-Fi or LAN cable, and then you can just use an easy setup. If you want, you can add a DNS blocker. That's optional, but it's not required because Golden will stop any system software updates from actually being downloaded. They'll try to download, but they will fail to download to the hard drive because Golden has an update blocker built in. So we can get connected up to the internet if you want to, which will allow you to use things like the Homebrew and the Cheats Manager. So I'm gonna head over to the PS4 Cheats Manager because we want to get Gold 10 set up to its full potential. So in order to do that, we want to install the latest cheats patches and plugins. So if we open up the PS4 Cheats Manager, head to the Update section, go down to Update Cheats Patches and Plugins from the internet, and select X on that, and then we can update the cheats from GitHub, and we'll select that with X, and that will download all of the latest cheat files, and then we can do the patches, which will give us a few hundred patches, and then also the plugins as well, which will download 11 plugins. That's downloaded them all to the PS4 there. So if we head back, we can apply some patches here. So if I go into the patches section, I can press the triangle button to filter for games that I have installed. And then I can select Bloodborne as an example and apply things like the 60 FPS patch for Bloodborne. Disable motion blur, we can apply the resolution patch for 720p to hit higher frame rates and skip intros to get straight into the main menu when we launch the game. So that's how you can apply your patches to your games. So now we can close out of the PS4 Cheats Manager. So now we can configure our Gold 10 settings. If we go in here, we've got the cheat settings. I like to show title ID labels for ID and app version. That can slow down the menu if you have a lot of applications installed, so just bear that in mind. If we go into the plugin settings, we can enable the plugins loader and now enable the game patch plugin. So we can get that going. Also game overlays. You can enable an FPS counter and show system information, and if you also want, enable scan lines for retro games. And then we've got server settings. I like to enable the FTP server. I can connect to the console remotely and access the file and system. Also enable the bin loader server so that we can also send payloads to execute on the console over the network as well, and then keylog settings. I normally leave that and then the regular settings. We just got rest mode support, which we want, and the PPPoE, which does not apply to this jailbreak. And then we should be all good there. So we can see our title ID labels showing on our application. So just to show what that's all done, if we launch one of the games here, if we launch Bloodborne, it should apply the patches that we enabled in the PS4 Cheats Manager. So we get our 3 patches applied. We can see our FPS counter showing with the overlays. It skips the intro and goes straight into the main menu. We can see we have the 60 FPS patch by Lance McDonald. And of course, it is running at 720p, so we can hit the higher frame rates. I also have boost mode enabled on my console in the settings, because it's a PS4 Pro, and once we load up into the game, you can see we've got our smoother frame rates, 60 FPS, and then also I can hold down the share button to bring up the cheats that we installed. And then I can enable the master code, maybe infinite blood echoes, infinite health one-hit kill. And then I can just press circle to go back into the game. With those cheats applied, you can see we've got the 999, 9 of blood echoes there, and also I should have infinite health. I'm not taking any damage when I get hit by an enemy, so that is also working. And then of course one hit kill is also enabled. So this kind of brings Golden up to its full potential. You can enable your cheats, patches, and all of that good stuff. And that is pretty much how you get the jailbreak running on the PS. For now, last but not least, when you restart the console, the jailbreak will no longer be running. So the jailbreak is a tethered jailbreak. So that means when you restart, the jailbreak is no longer running. So all of the applications you installed when you were jailbroken will still be there, except they will show with a padlock symbol. And when you try and run them, it will say that it cannot use this content because you're not running the jailbreak right now. So all you have to do is rerun the jailbreak by running the Japanese game. That will trigger the save file, which will then load the payload from the hard drive. So we don't need the USB plugged in this time, since we've already loaded it before. So that's all we gotta do there. And there we go. As you can see, payloads already
We're
up to date and running with gold 10. And then all we need to do is try and run our game again. It's now working because we're now running the jailbreak. Now, you can also use rest mode instead of turning the console off, which can retain the jailbreak when it recovers from rest mode. So you don't have to rerun it again. That's what a lot of people use on previous jailbreaks. It's almost not required with this jailbreak, given how quickly it can run. All you have to do is just load the Japanese game, takes a few seconds, and you're back up and running with the jailbreak so anyway. You can use rest mode if you want, but it's honestly not necessary given how you can load the jailbreak after a reboot. Last but not least, this video is part of a playlist, which will be linked down in the video description. That has lots of tutorials for jailbreaking your PS4, showing you how to make the most out of your jailbroken PS4, which goes on to show you how to do things like being able to run your PS4 games, DLC and updates, as well as PS1 and PS2 retro games using RetroArch, running Linux on the PS4. So you can run more emulators and even some PC games on your console, and many other useful tutorials. Being able to install package files remotely and many others. So that will be linked down in the video description. If you want to continue on this journey and, fully take advantage of your jailbroken PS4. But that's gonna do it for me for this video. So hope you guys enjoyed this one or found the information useful. If you did, please